We're back again, and this time I have light in front of me. I also have a mic, so you can actually hear me much better. So you can see I'm making a little bit of an improvement simply because I'm doing enough reps. And yesterday I did 5 reps, I made 5 videos, so that's gotta tell you something about my dedication to the craft, right? Of course, it's only a second day, so let's not jump across the pit before we say hop. It's a saying in Lithuanian. It does not make any sense in English though. So, today's topic. Today's topic is how I look at creative work. And it's a very dear topic to me yet again. It's the only thing I speak about, the things that I care about. And I really care about creative work. I genuinely care about creative work. I am in creative work myself. I make ads for companies and I manage them. I manage the creative strategies and the process. So, why do I like, creative work? Probably because creative work allows me a lot of freedom to actually just enjoy my work. And I think every job or every career has its benefits. Some pay a lot of money, some don't. But in creative work, I get to be myself and I'm able to express myself freely. And I think that's why I value it. I did combine my creative work with this hustler mentality, Andrew Tate kind of thinking. And I had this thinking before Andrew Tate. So it's not like he told me something very new, but I was always maximizing. I was always trying to over deliver, and just someone you would say is a hard worker, right? It's somebody who is pushing hard, has no limits, even to the point of, burnout, breakdown, you name it, I've had it. But for some reason I'm able to bounce back, and the consequences of even breaking down or having a burnout are not as important to me, and perhaps I don't feel them as hard as some people do. So it's probably the reason I keep on doing it again and again and pushing myself all the way to that limit, because usually when I get to that point, all I have to do is just recover for a few weeks, maybe a few months, and then I'm back to normal. So, and I tend to enjoy it, pushing myself and doing all these things. So that's what I wanted to talk about, combining of this creative kind of brainstorming brain and chaotic brain with this crazy sense of, pushing beyond the limits and doing the impossible. And when you combine those things, you have I have my competitive advantage, is that I can push really hard and focus on volume and just crazy creative volume. That's not something, that's not something that's normal. And I don't see many people doing it. A lot of people in my space have boundaries, clear like I'm only available from this time, and next week I'll be traveling in Bali, so I'm not going to be available for a quick call, stuff like that, But for me, no, that's where I shine. That's what I focus on, just crazy maniac level creative volume. And usually if you're doing that kind of creative work, all creative work is a process, right? There is always some kind of a process. It's not just random. I mean, sometimes it can look random from the outside, but usually there is a creative process, and it requires you maybe to do a rain dance, then tap on your head 3 times, make 5 squats, and touch the ceiling with your head or something. Like, there is a process to it, even though it might look random, but there is always a process to everything. Whatever works for you. But that's why I like it. And sometimes, when I challenge myself, like, I don't even know what am I supposed to do, but I just do a bunch of random stuff, and usually something comes out of it. And a lot of times I've had an experience where I break my own expectations. And that's an amazing feeling when you break your own expectations, and usually the outcome is really great because you end up having extraordinary results, like finding a winning ad, right? That's like you, it was completely random how you came to that point to make it. Like maybe you saw something, got inspired, you took something from somewhere else, an idea hit you, and you combined that and to a completely random idea, and you decided to run it as a test, and it became a winner. Like nobody, not a single competitor has anything similar to that, and you just hit something in your target audience right there in the middle, in the feeling, in the soul, that generates crazy results for you and your client. But the outcome, you couldn't plan to get to that point. It was completely random. It's even hard to explain how you got to that point. If you try to systemize it would look completely crazy, and it would make no sense as an SOP. So that's why I like creative work. It's hard to duplicate. There is no SOP for creative work. It's going to be unique for every single creative, and you just have to be doing volume and being yourself and really listening at you to your intuition to the highest degree. Just doing everything out of intuition. There is no logic behind it. But usually that intuition leads you to a much better outcome than you could ever imagine, with your logic. So that's how I view creative work. And I aspire and inspire everyone who's doing creative work to just use their intuition to the maximum, and really don't hold yourself to any rules. Just whatever comes, and just go with it. Like even if it looks weird or stupid or dumb or ugly, just go with it. And if you just keep going with it, it's gonna lead you somewhere. There's actually a crazy good book about this. I don't know if I have it here in front of me, but it's called Alchemy. It was written by this guy who runs a massive creative agency. You can research this by yourself. It really goes into that, just doing things at random in creative work can usually yield better results than planning in advance. Of course, in business, everyone wants to plan everything in advance, forecasting, and what are we expecting, what are the expectations, and so that we can plan ahead, we already calculate, should we go that way or not, make decisions based on that. But in creative work, it's so hard to measure. So if you're a creative, somebody who's doing creative work, don't be afraid to be yourself, even if it's crazy. Even if what you do is ugly, crazy, stupid, just go with it. Break any rule, every rule. And if you end up breaking some rules and people get angry, like you're not allowed to do that. Oh, you're not allowed to do that. This is against the algorithm. This is against Facebook rules, privacy policy, whatever. This is gonna get banned. This. You're doing the right thing. And usually they do not ban you. They do not, cancel you or anything like that. And you're gonna find it basically separates people. You get 50% that say, wow, that's amazing, I didn't know you can do this. And the other 50 is gonna be like, no, that's not allowed, that's not allowed. So if you're going in that direction and you make stuff that makes people worry and, it makes them panic, if your content makes people panic, you're doing really great content. Keep doing that. If your creative talent is used just for that, to stir up a bunch of emotions, then I clap to you and I say, well done for being a creative. Thanks for watching and keep on creating.